Getting out of that comfort zone for me has really been like, just be obedient and listen the first time. There's been too many instances in my life where, I feel in my heart and I know it's God. It's like, do this. And I ignore it because things are too comfortable.
Mm.
And then it's almost like 6 months down the line, a year down the line, 2 years down the line, the thing that I was supposed to do gets done, but o- out of my control.
Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own prime performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here, you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance Strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on? And welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today's guest is super awesome. He's a good friend of mine. His name is Andre Carvalho. And I'm excited to dive into this conversation because it's a unique perspective on the whole entrepreneurial world and business building kind of thing. So Andre, like I said, is a good friend of mine, but he's also a real estate investor and acquisitions specialist who's in the middle of rebuilding something big. Andre has scaled businesses before, and now he's stepping out on his own to build an acquisitions company designed to generate 7 figures of active income with a long-term vision of managing billions in assets. But what makes today's conversation most interesting isn't just the ambition, it's the reset. So today we're planning to talk about how starting over by choice. We're going to talk on leaving partnerships, getting back into the field, what it actually takes to close deals, and how to scale without hiding just behind theory. He's also writing a book called Deal Flow, and we'll dive into what consistent opportunity creation really looks like. Andre, dude, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to get this on the calendar. We're able to kind of get this going. So I'd love to just dive right in if you're cool with that.
I'd love it. Let's do it.
Cool. So let's go back. Let's bring it back to the early days. Specifically, how did you get started in business in the first place?
Well, a good friend of ours, Brandon, he's the one that kind of helped me set out a 10-year vision. Back then I had these little business ideas. I wanted to do like the vending machine thing. I was looking at like the ATM machines and figuring out all kinds of way to make some extra cash on the side. And Brandon, I met him at the gym, and after talking to him, he was like, dude, you got to like sit down and just think about what you want 10 years from now and figure out like if you're en route to that. And that was an extremely hard exercise to do, to really think about, 10 years from now, what you want your life to look like. that was a difficult task. I think it took me 2 to 3 months to really like figure that out, figure out like, what do I want my lifestyle to look like, my personal life, and then how does that lead to the financial, right? What kind of finances do I need in order to achieve that? And what do I want to do on my day to day to earn that finances? And that's the professionals. That's something that he talks about all the time is your personal, financial, and professional goals. So sat down and put those down, and then I got clarity on what I wanted, and I realized I was in the wrong vehicle, you know?
Yeah, where were you at the time?
So I was working at the National Kidney Registry. So they facilitate kidney transplants, and I worked my way up. I was a logistics coordinator there. Started off. I think I was 21 years old or 20. No, I think I was 20 years old because I remember going to their first event as soon as they hired me, and I couldn't drink. And I remember like my manager making fun of me because I was so young. But yeah, so I started there and I worked my way up to become operations manager. And at the time I was, earning six figures. I was, helping facilitate over 1,000 transplants a year over the country, the logistics for it. I had a team, but I realized that that vehicle that I was in, right, that corporate job, although I love my job, it was great and there was a ton of growth opportunity. It just didn't align with my 10-year vision and what I wanted my life to look like. And so I had to take a real hard look and say, man, like, do I want to continue down this path or do I want to take a new route? Do I want to take a new, align what I'm doing today with what I want 10 years from now?
And I would love to kind of dive in and ask you, like, so what kind of risks did you take to do that? Because it sounds like you had a pretty comfortable job. Like, what? So tell me a little bit more about that.
Let's see. I had a 401k. I had a car. I pretty much cashed out everything I had because I needed some runway, right? When you're starting a business, you don't have any income coming in. I met my business partner, Tyler. I did a lot of research first and foremost before I jumped, just quit my job and everything. I did a lot of research. I did 6 months. I was like planning. I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? Do I really want to do this? And I realized it was going to take me time to start generating. I think I listened to, I don't know how many podcasts and just YouTube videos of, how the real estate world works and just really kind of getting the feel like how does everything work, creating a plan. And I realized I needed probably a minimum 6 months of savings in order for me to start making some money, which honestly was very aggressive, I believe. I think 12 months would have been a little bit safer. But, I really just, I was amped up and I needed to go. And so I met my business partner, Tyler, on Facebook, like I was networking on the groups and stuff, met him on there, built a beautiful partnership. We were just like perfect for each other. And in terms of our skill sets and our knowledge and what we're good at. And so I partnered up with him. I cashed out my 4K. I sold my car at the time and I just got a pool of money that I was able to live off of for, 6 to 8 months and then just kind of got to it, man.
Yeah, I love that too, and because especially that you talked about having that 6 month kind of blanket and how that might have been almost too aggressive, and 12 months would have been way more kind of cushy. Can you talk a little bit about like maybe the difference between courage to take a leap like that, taking a risk versus how to identify that it wasn't like how do you know it's courage versus recklessness?
Courage. That's a great. And I was talking to my girlfriend about that recently. We didn't use the word reckless, but that's kind of what she meant. She's like, "Are you sure you did?" Because I'm kind of going through a similar process now again. She's like, what? How do we make sure we're doing this, but we're doing this responsibly? And I think having courage is betting on yourself. Number one, right? Are you courage? Is it courage or is it recklessness? Recklessness would be if I just quit my job and I didn't have a plan. I didn't know I'm gonna go try this. That's reckless, right? But when you, number one, believe in yourself and you commit and you put a plan in place, right? You're like, okay, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try it for, and I'm not saying you can't try things because it's very important for you to try, but have a plan in place. Okay, I'm going to do this for, is it 4 weeks and kind of get a taste of it, right? Don't quit your job yet. Go get a taste of what that looks like. Go experiment with it for, a month, 2 months, see what it's like, talk to people before I missed this point, before I did, leave my job, I had, I think I scheduled 52 coffees. I had 52 coffee dates. Actually, I don't know if I made it. I think my goal was 52, one a week. I'm pretty sure it was close. It was definitely above like 40. But I had nearly 50 coffee dates that I set up with professionals in the area and just business owners and stuff. So like I'm just talking to a bunch of people, getting data, like I'm just getting a bunch of inputs and I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about it. And there is a point, by the way, that I think you can do a little too much thinking, right? And you just need to take action. But my point is, like, get some experience, talk to people, and put a plan in place. You don't have to spend, a year putting a plan in place. Take a month to like really think about what it is that you want, how are you going to do it. And if nothing's going to go according to plan, but have a plan in place. And then you're going to pivot, you're going to find different ways to do things. But I would say just jump into it after taking some time to think about it. I think that's being courageous, man. And like betting on yourself. Recklessness is just doing stuff without thinking about it and just hoping. A lot of
Mm,
people smoke that hopium as they talk about, and that's dangerous for you.
yeah. Yeah, I want to ask you before we kind of move along here. I wanted to ask you quickly because I've known you for a while and you definitely do a great job taking the time to actually think about it. And then from what I've seen from you and your growth, like you actually sit down and you put in the work to actually think about it. Whereas a lot of people I've seen kind of think about things and then they just let it go by the wayside and they never actually make a plan to go around that. So you were saying sometimes it could take you a year, but you don't necessarily need that, but maybe taking like a month to kind of think about it. I want to ask you, what does it look like for you when you're in your scheduled time, or maybe it's not scheduled time? Like, are you just like thinking about it subconsciously? Like, how do you process these ideas and plans that you're trying to like cultivate
Yeah.
for
That's
yourself?
a great question. I think it depends a lot on your personality. For me, my mind is always thinking about business, like the next thing. It's to a fault at times. Like, I try to be like, that's something I'm actively working on. I was like, how do I be more in the present moment? So my mind is always thinking about the future and how am I going to do this or what is that going to look like? Typically for me, it's later at night, like after 6 o'clock for some reason is when I get my inspiration to like do my focus work. I try my best to be a morning person, but I always get like my best work done at night. It's just my natural thing. So, yeah, I have a journal, man. I love my journal. And all I do is I write down my ideas and I say, okay, I'm going to do this and this is going to lead to that. And then, you know, um, this journal here with a little pen, it's the best thing in the world, bro. Albert Einstein had a journal. Every, every successful person that I've met, they have a journal. And that's a key to success there that I've gotten is like the journal. And I'm not saying not a diary, right? Like not journaling your diary in the mornings of how your day went necessarily, which is great, by the way, like writing your wins and stuff. But I'm talking about writing down your ideas. Our brains were not made to remember information. Our brains were made to invent things and be creative and generate ideas. Although we have the capabilities of remembering, that's not the core function of our brain. We're made to create. So having a journal allows us to really capture your ideas and go back to them and develop them and scratch things off and erase and rewrite and really develop these ideas into something that's better and better. And if you don't capture them, you're gonna lose them and you can't build onto them. So I love the journal. I think that's the key.
So let me ask you, like, how often do you actually go back and revisit different days or past days that you've written in your journal?
I'm at a point now that almost daily, man. Like this journal goes with me everywhere. Like before our meeting here, I think I wrote down a few bullet points, and so like if something comes about this meeting, I'm going to write, a couple bullets point down. I mean, I'm using it all day, every day. I'm referencing back. I like to keep a journal for the year. Like this is my 2026 journal. I don't know if you can see there. 2026 journal. I lost my 2025 journal. I'm still kind of pissed about that. I think I left it at the airport by accident, dude. I was so upset, but I got over it quick and I just got a new one. But I'm using it all day, every day. And, I'm referencing things and especially because like my memory itself isn't great, So I had a boss once tell me that, just write it down. He's like, just write it down. And I just stuck with me.
So how do you keep things organized though? I know when I've had like a pen and paper kind of thing, like I get scattered, I like ideas kind of get lost, new ideas kind of formulate up because I have a journal, but I use everything on like technology so that I can summarize and have it kind of like concise and planned and like prepared for me. So when I go back to it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of where I was going with this thought.
I don't overthink it. I used to try to organize the journal, like, I'm gonna do this section for this section for that. Now, all I do is I separate some pages in the back for my tasks, but I don't really use that. I've been using the
Mm,
phone for that more lately for the tasks. But then like everything else, I just kind of, and then I have like the front page is my goals. And then that's it. Like the front page is my goals. And then everything else, I kind of just write throughout the book. I don't overthink it anymore. I don't try to structurize it. I don't try to like, make it pretty. It's
mhm.
just a place to capture my ideas and to write it down. And yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And then like I said, I think I use the notes. Like my Tyler, he uses the notes on his phone a lot,
Mhm.
and that works well for him. For me, I don't know, the notes on the phone, it just doesn't feel as good as like with the pen and paper, you know? And also it's like I find myself just because I have so many in there. It's like I lose track of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it kind of reminds me of like my back when I would follow my morning routine and I would do like everything under the sun and it would almost like doing the morning routine just to do the morning routine instead of doing it to get the benefit out of it. And when I came to the realization that like, okay, I don't need to write exactly three things that I'm grateful for, also my goals, also this every single day. Like as long as I focus on what's beneficial to me and do it in a way that's easy for me to keep doing it, that's where it becomes like successful or
Yeah.
beneficial.
100%. That's never worked for me. I mean, at least not for me. I'm not great at with structure like that, like following. I'm great at creating SOPs and creating the plan for other people to follow, but I'm not great at following them myself.
I want to switch subjects a little bit here. I want to kind of get into kind of like the topics because you're stepping away from a partnership and a pretty successful partnership. And and you're stepping away so you can start your own company. So I want to ask why.
Great question. So Tyler and I started nearly 4 years ago. Our first year, our first full year, I think we did like 300,000 in revenue. Second year, we did 1.4 million. And our third year, we grew a team of like 12 people. And 2025 was, so we had I feel like I was actually writing this down. Each year had like its own theme. And whether we made a lot of money or learned a lot of lessons, Tyler and I, we just work really well together. But I've been really going down a spiritual journey the last year and a half, 2 years. And I truly felt like for myself and for Tyler, God was just calling each of us to step into a new level of leadership and maturity. And I felt as though Tyler was almost a little bit of a crutch for me, and I was being a little bit of a crutch for him. And I just know in myself, I couldn't step into this next level, or maybe I could have. And, it's almost like a limiting mindset. But I think in order to accelerate this process, the only way to do it would be parting ways and allowing him to really take ownership and step into this new level of leadership. And same thing for myself, where I know that having him there, always there, he's a phenomenal partner. I mean, I can count on him, and he's going to be my best friend, until I die, man. Just a great, great man, family man, great father. And so, but I just know that God has a calling for each of us, and we need to accelerate, man. We need to accelerate time in order to achieve that, because there are people out there that need our help, that need us to step into this level of leadership so we can take on the assignments that God has for us. And we're just not going to be able to take on those assignments if we're still at this level down here, We really need to step into that next level in order to take on those next assignments.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough because many people see those signs where we have to like make those changes and kind of step into those new levels, but sometimes the comfort kind of holds us back and we are afraid to kind of make that step, that change because change is so uncomfortable. So speaking of the change and stuff, I want to ask you like what's the biggest difference building this new company is going to be versus building it alone versus building it with a partner?
So I want to point two things out. Number one, just to touch previously about, what you're saying, getting out of the comfort zone. Number one, being obedient is something that I'm looking to really focus on. Like, how do I listen to when God is trying to tell me to do something? So, getting out of that comfort zone for me has really been like, just be obedient and listen the first time. There's been too many instances in my life where I feel in my heart and I know it's God. It's like, do this. And I ignore it because things are too comfortable. And then it's almost like 6 months down the line, a year down the line, 2 years down the line, the thing that I was supposed to do gets done, but out of my control. Whether it's natural instance or someone else comes in and that thing happens, but it's always so much worse than if I had taken care of it when I first knew I needed to take care of it. So I've just had too many instances in my life where that was the case of like me being stuck and not wanting to make that tough decision. And so like I just learned to just be obedient and do it the first time. Like when I know that like this is gonna be hard, but I know it's something needs to be done, rip that band-aid off because I know if I wait, it's gonna be 10 times worse. And it's still gonna happen regardless. Like I don't have control over anything. That's just something that I've learned. Like if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen and I have zero control over it. So I might as well take care of it now while it's going to cost me the least, whether it's going to cost me in money or pain, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever, you know? What was the second question?
So what's going to be different this time growing the business by yourself versus growing with a
Okay.
partner?
Man, I think a lot, like I said, Tyler was really the salesperson in the organization and like great at painting the vision, great at recruiting people. Those are the three things that is not my strong suit, right? I'm very more operations heavy, a lot more, systems, building systems, managing a team, holding people accountable. So these are some skill sets that I'm going to have to develop. How do I go to recruit someone? How do I paint the vision of the future of this organization? How do I paint the vision that this is going to be something that you should join? You know, how do I talk to homeowners or buyers, and how do I paint the vision that this is a product that you should purchase. And so the sales side, the communication piece, communicating the vision, those are skill sets and abilities that I'm going to have to really hone in on.
Yeah. So you were saying how Tyler was more of like the sales kind of side of things. And I know in a previous conversation you and I had, you said that one of your main focuses when to build build the beginning of this business, like really get it rolling is you got to get back out into the field and start closing deals. So when I ask like, why is it non-negotiable for you to be the one who's out there right off the bat in the field closing everything?
It's not. I mean, I could go and find somebody to do it with me. But the thing is, it's a skill set that I want to learn because I know it's something that is going like sales is everything. Whether everyone is a salesperson, whether you work a W-2, if you're going to go get a promotion, like everything is sales. You got to sell someone on your idea. And so it's a skill set that I want to develop and I want it to be my number one ability. Like I want to get really good at telling stories. I want to get really good at being able to convince people of my ideas and influence people. And so I feel like this is a great opportunity where I can go into the field, build my business, generate income, and build these abilities that I can then teach other people and replicate in other people. So my main goal is to go out there and master this skill of sales, of communication, and be so good at it that I can then replicate it in other people and rise them up and help them grow. And that way, that's going to help, the business eventually grow and myself grow.
So I
It's the harder
understand.
path at the end of the day. It's definitely the more difficult path, but it's the better path, choosing the pain now than later.
Yeah, and I love that too because you're like you said, you're building the skills behind it. So like if you go out, hire somebody who's great, you get attached and dependent on that person with their sales, they happen to leave or get sick or something happens to them, that falls back to you. And then there you are square one without that ability to do the sales. So yeah, I love it. And I like that approach and I think that's great. But I want to ask you on that topic of sales, like what do you think most entrepreneurs misunderstand or get wrong about sales?
I think first and foremost, I think a lot of people think salesperson, they immediately think, slimy, like person that takes advantage of other people.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that, believe it or not. I think sales is a skill that everyone should learn because at the end of the day, it's really just communication. Sales is how do you communicate your ideas well And I believe if you're selling a good product, which you should be, if you're in sales, you should believe in that product or else you're going to be a terrible salesperson. But if you're in sales, your your skill is communication. And if the person needs the product that you're offering, then a sale is just a natural conclusion of a conversation. You have what they want what you have. If you have a good conversation where you solve that person's problem, it's just a natural conclusion of a well had conversation. So if you can be a great communicator and communicate ideas well, then sales, I don't believe is that difficult, right? And that's really it, in my opinion.
Do you think you can scale without like personally knowing how to close well?
Can you scale? Well,
Yeah.
scaling is just different than growing. I don't know. I don't think so. I think you need to know how to sell. Like that's the number one thing. And if you're going to start any business, you have to be able to generate revenue. If you can't make money, then there is no business, right? Everyone wants to build the business cards and the website and all the fancy things, the bells and whistles before starting the business. But the first thing you need to do is go make a sale, see if that idea works, see if, that thing that you're looking to sell, if people want it. And granted, like for some people are like a software engineer, for example, they might not be great at sales. And that's when I think partnerships are crucial. Like if you're a software engineer, that's not a skill set you have, go find someone that's great at sales, partner with them. It's so much better to, what's the saying? Would you rather own an entire piece of like an apple pie or would you rather own 25% of like a giant apple pie? I don't know, something like that. But the point is, would you rather, own and have the liability and be responsible for everything of like this tiny thing or a small portion of a much larger thing? And you can achieve so much more with other people. I believe a lot in partnerships. I think partnerships are great. I think everyone should find the person that aligns with their core values, aligns with their purpose, and does not align with their skill sets, if that makes sense.
No, that definitely does.
If you're great at sales, find someone that's great at the operations, that's great at the back end stuff. Because
Yeah.
most of the time, salespeople are not very good. If you put a spreadsheet in front of a salesperson, 90% of them will start crying.
I want to ask you about some numbers because you're talking about spreadsheets and stuff here. So in the intro there, I kind of talked about how you want $1 million active income and 1 billion under management. What's so specific about those numbers?
Specific, repeat the question for me.
Or significant, I should say. Like, so you mentioned to me that you want to have like 1 billion in active income and or 1 million in active income and 1 billion
Yeah.
under management. So what's significant about those numbers?
Well, honestly, it's very like at the end of the day, man, when you start thinking about your vision and what you want a big enough vision. And every successful person I've heard speak, they're like, I wish I put a bigger number out there. Like, because once they achieve it, they're like, now what? And really, I went back and I looked, okay, what do I want my life to look like in 10 years and maybe in 20 years? The $1 billion in assets under management is 20 years. And I've been thinking, I think that might actually be like, I might be thinking small. I've been like listening to some podcasts of like some numbers of some entrepreneurs out there, and I might be thinking small on a 20-year vision. And so it's just a number, man. Like business, I found it's just a game. Like we're just here living it. I want to make enough money so that I can live a comfortable life with my family and travel and not be dependent on money, be financially free and be able to afford the nice things that life has to offer and enjoy life without having to worry about the finances. And so $1 million a year was just that number that was like, hey, after inflation for the next 10 to 20 years, that's probably a pretty good number. And in the next 3 years, I might change that. I might say I want 10 million. I don't know, because it might just be too small. We'll see how the next 3 years go. And we'll see, hey, is that really what I want? Because you're constantly changing as you progress through life. Your goals change and what you want changes. And so it's just a number I threw out there just to have one. And that's what I'm shooting for now, but it might change in 3 years. I don't want to ever, I'm tired. Like I used to beat myself up so much for wanting to like, oh, this is the number, this is the thing I'm going to do, and putting myself in this box. And then I'm always feeling guilty for not doing XYZ or not following through on XYZ. And I'm just tired of feeling guilty about things. I'm like, look, that's why I don't make promises anymore, by the way. Like, I don't, like, unless I know I'm going to do something 100%, I will not make a promise, not to my girlfriend, not to my mom, not to anybody. Unless I know 1000% that that's going to happen, then I won't make the promise because I don't want to, the guilt that comes behind, oh, but things change, like if you want me to come and speak at your event, if you want me to do this, like, yeah, I'm going to try my best, but I'm not going to guarantee it. Sorry.
Dude, I
Too
love
many
that.
things.
I love that because, sometimes I get some heat from saying that. Like, Victoria will ask me something or somebody else will ask me something, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll try my best." And they'll be like, "No, I don't know. I want you to tell me that you're gonna do it." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. Nothing is certain in life.
Yeah.
Like, I'll try my best. Like, I will actually go and I'll do what I can, but I'm not
Hmm.
making nothing's for
I'm
certain, so
not
I
going
have
to
no
make a
idea."
promise. I think it is so important, dude. I'm happy you're doing that because like your brain, whatever you do make a promise and then you don't do it, now you just told yourself that you don't follow through on the things
Yeah.
you say you do. And now, if you're doing that on the small things, how does that affect the big things? And so I just don't make those promises. Like even on the working out, I think you were coaching me for a while on the working out. Now, like I really struggled with waking up because I really wanted to wake up and work out in the mornings. And so now what I do is look, I need to get at least 30 minutes in minimum before I go to bed. Whether that's in the morning, whether that's at lunch, and whether that's at night, like doesn't matter throughout the day. As long as before I go to bed, I get my 30 minutes in minimum. And that's worked really well for me because
Yeah.
now I'm not making a promise. Like I'm not sticking to that. Like I just got to get it done at some point in the day, like leaving my schedule fluid. I think that's critical.
Yeah, and I think, that also is a great point to bring out further than just, like, the schedule too. It's like having that flexibility to be adaptable and open to pivot when things do happen. I think that's where like the key is with like whether you talk about nutrition with your business, like you got to have that like adaptability kind of mindset for stuff, which is great. I want to go back because a minute ago you had mentioned financial freedom and really you kind of hinted at what that meant to you. So I wanted to ask, so how does real estate allow for time and location freedom for you?
Okay. So when I first started the business, I used to think that, would buy all these units and I would just have all this passive income and it was going to be great. But then I started getting into rooms with the guys that had all the fancy houses and all the rentals. And what I've been hearing lately is it's not all the what it's dreamed up to be. And the real passive wealth is like building a business and scaling it big enough where it kind of runs itself. And nothing is ever passive, really. But real estate, in my opinion, today's what? We're in 2026. This could change in the future. I don't know. But my opinion today, real estate should only be purchased to offset your taxes. And so you can depreciate it against your taxes and not have to pay these ridiculous amount of taxes they charge you. And that's an appreciation. A lot of people, I think, were duped about cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, and how that's the best thing in the world. And while it's good, it's probably at the bottom of the list of why real estate is a good vehicle to purchase and own. If your number one is to depreciate your taxes, and number two, I would say, is to buy in an appreciation zone. Um, I just been in real estate for 4 years. I like the real estate world because it's always changing. There's always something new. There's always your every day you learn something new. And so now what I'm building is I want to build an ecosystem where I can find properties to purchase. I have, a flipping department, a new construction department, a lending department, an educational side, like these different arms within and building pretty much an ecosystem that kind of one thing feeds the other and focus in one market. And then who knows, maybe take that to other markets in the future, but really, um, building my own little ecosystem or my own big ecosystem that funnels it into everything within real estate. It's the game that I chose to play.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to think about it. It's kind of like your lens of building your thing. It's kind of like either using Legos, or if you're it's not using Legos, maybe like Kinects or something. I know there's different building blocks out there, but
Yeah.
your specific one is the real estate game. I like that.
Yeah, man, everything is a game. I used to be in the kidney transplant world, like, that's another game, like, the transplant industry in and of itself, that's a game within a game. You're in the medical field. Like, I just think of business now as a game. It's just fun because if you I used and I say this because I used to be so serious, man. So, like, everything's gotta be perfect. Everything has gotta, like, be super professional and, like, everything's gotta look great, and, like, now I'm like, "Dude, this is a game. How do we win?" You know, and the money is just a way to keep score, and that's it. Like, and I just hear a lot of things of like people that have bought and sold a lot of real estate. And once you get in these rooms, you're of people that have reached these levels that you want to reach, your mind starts to really change and think about things differently. That's why I'm such an advocate for like, paying to get in these bigger rooms. If, one way or another, get in these rooms, whether you're serving the water or cleaning the floors. I don't care. Like, get in the room so you can be shoulder to shoulder with some of these guys that are doing the things that you eventually want to do.
So I want to ask you here, because you're talking about mindset and changing and stuff like that. So if somebody listening right now is in the middle of like a rebuilding or a pivot, what do you think that they should really focus on first?
Rebuilding or pivot, commit and keep yourself exercised, eating well, and busy. And all these things tie into your mindset. So you keep a positive mindset because when you're making a big change, when you're doing a big pivot, if you're leaving a job that you're doing successfully, a lot of people are going to tell you that. A lot of people are going to doubt you. A lot of people are going to question you. And even the people that you love and they care about you, but they're going to question you. And then you're going to start questioning yourself. And it's very easy to slip into, a depressive mindset. It's very easy to kind of go down a dark alley and kind of go off the rails a little bit. And that's happening to me. And so the best way to overcome that is to commit to the vision, know what you want and why you're doing it, and exercise every day. And just, and honestly, the number one thing above all is that why, and know that if you're doing it because it's something that you feel in your heart and it's God's will, then for me, I just trust that, hey, he's going to be with me throughout this whole process, whether it goes wrong, whatever, or whether it goes right, he's going to be there and he's going to be helping me correct. There's a passage that I've learned recently that really sticks with me, and I don't know where it is, but all things cooperate for good for those that are in God's will. Something like that. I'm probably botching it, but all things cooperate for good. So whether it's all bad things happening in your life, all these things are going to cooperate for the good.
I love that. That's actually pretty sweet. I'm probably gonna have to look that up, make sure like fact check you on that. But I like the concept of what you're saying there. So I'd love to get the full one, but I really like that. It makes a lot of sense to me. And so dude, I know we're kind of cutting it close here on time. I have like a million other things that I want to ask you. So I'd love to kind of have you come back for a part two. But I also want to say thank you for taking the time, finally getting this onto the calendar and being able to do this. I know being able to watch the different things that you've kind of gone through and grown over the years is definitely cool to watch because it's inspiring, and just watching you along that building, and it's really cool stuff. So appreciate you also sharing and connecting with so many other people. You do a lot for community and for all the people that you are helping, and you're using real estate, like you said, as kind of like a vehicle for you, not only for yourself, but for a lot of other individuals out there as well. So appreciate that, man.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for your friendship.
Yeah,
You're a
of
great
course.
friend, and I love watching your growth as well. I found a quote here. It's Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good for those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Now, all things cooperate for good. Yeah,
I love it.
there it is.
Well, sweet. I love that. I'm glad we got that there. Thank you again for coming on today. But before I let you roll, I want to ask you just one final question here. If somebody's listening and they want to scale aggressively, but they're afraid of maybe some of the risks and stuff that's associated with it, what would you tell them?
Do it anyways.
All right. I
That's
love
all
it.
I got. That's it, man. Don't overthink it.
Just do it. Just get to it and take the action. I love it. Andre, dude, I'm
Yeah,
glad we got this on, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.